Good evening, Thomas.
Hello,
Hey,
Mike.
this is hey, hey. This is the first, the last, the Nerdom, and this is our main show where we cover our main event. And this week, what are we covering this week, Thomas?
Oh, we're getting far deep into the multiverse. I don't know which are we Earth 616 or is this which
I
Earth are we on?
I'm not. I don't know if that was answered. I'm pretty sure that was answered, but I have no idea. I know that normal Marvel Earth is 616, I believe.
Oh,
That
well, I have a nerd complaint later, a very nerd complaint, which I'm at the right place, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Yes, we're talking about Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. For some reason, I always forget the name of the Doctor Strange one. I always want to say Madness first, but um,
I'm going to be honest with you. But for the Spider-Man side, I just remember the newer ones are like something home.
yep, yep. Got to get home. Where's my home?
Yeah, and
Homebound.
yeah, and if you type in Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 3, no, you're not going to get. You're going to get the
The old ones.
yeah. But if you do Doctor Strange 2, then it knows what you want. So I'm good with
Yeah,
that. With my boomer Google foo.
yeah. Oh, hey, Mike. What's the deal with our channel? I always forget all of our shows. We have so many.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, that's a great point. Let me bring up our channel. We main shows. Our main show where we cover we just focus on uh, one or two particular things in a series or something like along those lines. Um, we have what about this? We have three shows, I believe, right? So that's our main
Yeah.
stuff to go into. But one of my favorite ones is our Wednesday one, which is our grab bag,
Mhm.
and Friday is like our mini series of what basically what we're going through right now. So, in other words, we are covering Strange New World because we both have never seen it. Prior to that, we
Mhm.
covered Generation. You had never seen the very first season of that, so we did a walkthrough of that. So those are our shows. What's your favorite that you like?
I've been enjoying our grab bag, but I also really love Strange New World, so I'm always looking forward to talking about that. So, yeah, I guess our if we didn't like a show, we would axe it. So,
Yeah, no. We both like I like all of our shows for different reasons.
uh,
And I love that we have a comic book more theme, grab bag, that kind of
uh,
pick of the week. Um, and uh, and the Strange New Worlds is like I fall in love with it the more we cover, the
mhm,
more I fall in love with it, the more it's just Trek, and it's exactly what I wanted. Years and years
mhm,
ago when they had
mhm,
murmurings of newer, Star Trek something or
mhm,
other. This is like probably 5 or 6 years ago. I
yeah.
think. Anyway, but aside from that, yeah. So our main event here today, this evening is we're going to cover Disney Marvel.
Mhm,
It's been a minute since we've covered their movies anyway.
mhm,
We kind of sort
yeah,
of covered a couple of their shows. Moon Knight, we
yeah.
covered that, and that ended a while ago.
Mhm.
We touched on a little bit. It's kind of impossible to not do something without mentioning Disney Marvel at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with this episode we tried to avoid spoilers as much as possible just in case someone out there was interested in the what we're talking about, but I think this show would be hard pressed to avoid spoilers. So if you haven't seen either the Spider-Man movie or Doctor Strange movie and don't want to be spoiled from it, I would say maybe step away from this one until you've seen it,
Yeah.
just because it would just be we would just be saying, oh well, there's this one part where this guy shows up.
Right. Right. Yeah, we we
So,
we we do we don't we're not really in the business of non-spoiler videos. Like maybe at some point in time in the future if we get to that point and it warrants it, but well once we go through something we want to be able to go through it. So Kudos to you for giving the viewers a warning, a heads up. But at this point, I think most folks have seen it. And regardless, both of these are available currently on Disney Plus, I believe.
No, well, not Spider-Man. I think
That's
Spider-Man
right.
is on
It
Stars.
was.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was on, but then it fell off, and then I think Doctor Strange is the one. That's where that's right. Because I had seen.
Yeah, I think Spider-Man will hit Disney later this year or next year. But yeah.
Okay, I've seen correct. I thought they released it to it doesn't matter. But anyway, so and what we're talking about is the Spider-Man, essentially Spider-Man 3, Disney Marvel Spider-Man 3, the third iteration. It's his third film, No Way Home. And I'm not even going to pretend to say what the other two were. But in any case, this is one big heavy cameo. Pardon me, I'm having technical difficulties with my mouse. Sorry.
No worries.
In any case, and then the other one that we're going to be covering today is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So I think these kind of one ends and then kind of the other picks up. I'm never clear on like where they fit in the timeline aside from like post snap, and of course what I'm referring to is Thanos's snap that eliminated half the life in the universe. I don't go into too much weeds because I don't even understand it myself, but
right.
I can barely comprehend the I can comprehend a lot, but there's a lot of storylines in my brain that are all over the place for Marvel.
Yeah, and also kudos to Disney for having the stories get layered through the movies and whatnot. A lot of studios previously to this would have been hesitant to make a whole franchise that would be so interdependent with the various storylines, because they want people to be able to go to one and not have to worry about the others. But really, I think especially with these two, without having prior seen some of the other stuff, you'd be quite confused.
In full disclosure, I saw the first Spider-Man for sure. And I think I want to say I've seen 3/4 of Spider-Man 2. That's the one with Mysterio. I haven't seen it like from start to finish. Like it's been more truncated. Having said that, though, I still kind of understood what was going on a little bit with Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, I understood like where they were at.
Right.
And essentially we're at is I guess you could tee us up for you probably better to tee us up for Spider-Man, or you want to I think this one we should cover this one first and then we'll go to the next one.
So at the end of the last Spider-Man movie, Mysterio reveals to the world that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and and there's I think the previous movie kind of dealt with the immediate after effects of the snap. But in this one, so Peter Parker is trying to deal with instant infamy of being Spider-Man, and trying to build a romantic relationship with Mary Jane, his girlfriend here. And or MJ, she's her name's isn't Mary Jane. I'm sorry, it's something else, isn't it?
It's like that. It's in the same. It's MJ, but it's not
right.
Mary,
Mary Jane. Yeah, exactly. So and so MJ and Peter Parker dealing with Peter Parker's fame of being Spider-Man. And so he decides that it would be better. He'd be better off if no one knew that he was Spider-Man, because he's finding all these great difficulties in life being known as Spider-Man. So he goes to Doctor Strange, the big wizard that or sorcerer that he is, thinking that he could help him out. And so Doctor Strange decides to do a spell, and then while the spell is being formed, Peter Parker realized, there's a few people he doesn't want to have them forget that he's Spider-Man. So he kind of messes up the spell and causes a ripple effect of through the multiverse to cause all these rifts and various people to come from various multiverses into this universe, this universe of Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. It's I was trying to think of like a next nearest analog to that. The best I was coming up with was like Pinocchio, want to be a real boy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like where it's just the whole world kind of, or I guess now that's a poor example, but I guess maybe a closer one, and I haven't seen this one, would be like WandaVision, where she had her pretend kids, and essentially changed the whole world around there. Of course, that was from the House of M storyline that they pulled bits and pieces of from all this. But in any case, yeah, all these Spider-Man films that I have seen, like and even the parts like I said, I've seen about 3/4 of Spider-Man 2, whatever, with Mysterio, that sets up this one. They've been very good. They've been very entertaining. I've always been surprised by them. I don't think it suffers from the same kind of jet lag, I guess, if for lack of a better term, for just the sheer volume of Marvel, Disney Marvel movies that are out there.
Yeah.
How did you take this one?
Everybody and their sister was saying how amazing this one was, and I didn't see it immediately when it came out. So I think the hype kind of oversold me on it. I liked it. I really enjoyed it, but there's parts of it that I had issues with. I think with this iteration of Peter Parker, he is not my Peter Parker, so to speak. Yeah, he's not the Peter Parker from the comic book.
No.
So it's
no way.
He's kind of he's interesting. He's a likable character, but he doesn't embody. And in I think to do a current day Spider-Man, it's a little hard because you can't have having him become a photographer for a newspaper. That's kind of being outdated at this point. And with drones and everything, he wouldn't be the only one that could get great shots of Spider-Man. So that part of the story kind of crumbles in today's if you were trying to tell the exact origins of Spider-Man. So you'd have to do it as a period piece, actually, maybe set it in the 70s or 80s.
I'd agree with that. It was billed as like amazing, and this and that, and there was a lot of hype around it, and I think the hype, it did not deliver 100% on the hype, for sure.
Right.
And I know where you're going at with that, and there's a lot of fan service with this one, and they actually kept it under wraps pretty well.
Yeah, it's not one of those movies where it's like member berries. So like, oh, remember this guy, remember this. Everything is like integral to the plot. The issue that I have is with the plot. I think the whole part where Peter Parker decides to help out the villains and then lets them out, especially Lizard. I don't see why he would let these guys out of their little prisons. But then you would have lost the whole plot of the movie. But I think that should have been reworked, because Peter Parker comes off as an idiot for letting these people out of their cages.
Yeah, I feel like, and this is kind of a criticism with the ballooning, and I feel like we're about ready to get a Variety article any day now on criticizing Hollywood for making such long films. And as a fan, I remember growing up, I mean, I wish movies were longer, and like now that we have them, it seems like they try to pack in quite a bit of material, quite a bit in this movie. And you're right. Some of the plot felt very rushed, to kind of get to the end or whatever. And some of it made sense and some of it didn't. And I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with this version of Peter Parker, per se. I will say this. Spider-Man 3, with the Tobey Maguire one with Venom, and Topher Grace. That's what Topher Grace played. Brock.
Eddie Brock.
Eddie Brock. Thank you. That was the worst Spider-Man movie known to man. I don't care what anybody says. That one was horrific, and that was more like when I was more of a, I wanted the purity of Spider-Man and the storyline, and they. Yeah. The storyline where Carnage, the Summer of Carnage, I remember that as a kid vividly. That comic books, I remember that reading that. That when I think that was the second iteration of it by that time in the early 90s. But I remember that. I remember playing the games. I remember Venom. So like, I have a very sentimental spot in my heart for Venom and then Spider-Man. But that's not my Venom. That's not, right, the case. It made him like very emo. I think that the jokes around that time was like emo Spider-Man with the black, and it was like darker, kind of dark. It didn't work. But so the goalpost, if you're using that as like the worst, in my opinion, this is way above that. But it didn't take much. Horrible Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, and the whole thing where Peter Parker and Doctor Strange are doing the spell, it seems like they would have that conversation of who would know from the spell would have took place beforehand, but then you wouldn't have the eruption of the multiverse. So yeah, there's a lot of conceits in it that just doesn't make sense to me, that are integral to the plot to make it work. So those are some of the issues that I have with it, along with the whole thing of bringing the villains back to his home, and then inadvertently getting Aunt May killed. That was that's pretty rough. I mean, your own stupidity, and then trapping Doctor Strange in his own little vortex thingy. It just I don't know. If I could look past all of that crap, it's a pretty decent movie. It's just there's things that the characters do that doesn't make sense to the characters, in my opinion, to get the story set up and going. All the acting is great. I liked all three of the Peter Parkers. It was nice seeing them all again.
Yeah, they did good for what they had, what they were working with. The actors showed up and they did their job for sure. I would say that.
Yeah, and William Dafoe as the Green Goblin was great.
Oh yeah, I really loved seeing Jamie Foxx again. He's just I wish to see him in more stuff, but he was good. And I thought he actually did a better job than in the the original Spider-Man. I think he was kind of I think he was hamstrung a little bit on that role, but that's ancient history. But aside from that, I felt like the probably the biggest criticism that I would kind of roll back to is like, there's nothing wrong with the film. I mean, it was entertaining. It hit all the metrics that it needed to, I suppose. I wasn't fully satisfied with it though, coming out of it. And this is nitpicking a little bit, but again, they try to do a lot, and it's fairly impressive that they did pull it off. But I do think that it got wobbly in a lot. It got very weak and thin. It got very, very thin in a lot of areas as the story progressed. And then they just didn't have the time to dedicate to, building that part up. Like the whole part of like him being adversarial with Doctor Strange doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And then everything that kind of stemmed from that story point just didn't make any sense. Like, wow, come on, well, let's just let him go. Let's just let him go. No, fucking let him go. Are you kidding me? Pardon my language. But, no. Peter Parker would never, ever, ever do that. I mean, he's compassionate. He doesn't kill. He's not the Punisher. He's not Batman. He has his thing. And I think actually, it was revealed in Superior Spider-Man, I think is what it was called. That where Doc Ock takes over Spider-Man's body. And he doesn't understand the powers and how strong Peter really is, how strong Spider-Man is, and like he finds out that he's really been holding back. So when he does a punch, it's not full strength. or something like that,
Mhm.
because he learns this a little bit, because I can't remember the villain that he tangled. That's like one of my all-time favorite Spider-Man storylines from the comics.
Mhm.
But in any case,
Mhm.
he's like, oh crap, I think I killed him or put him in a coma or something. You know, he's like,
Mhm.
oh crap. But
Mhm.
yeah, they it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Zendaya is always great. And
Yeah.
shout out
Yep.
to our she's very popular. And she's probably the most beloved person that could waltz through everything and not worry about the culture wars or doing a bad performance or anything like that, because every time she kind of pops up, it's just the right amount of Zendaya, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, both her and Tom Holland are just really likable people. Just they instantly have um chemistry on the screen, and I think in any movie they kind of they're instantly likable, which maybe can't be said for certain people, but maybe like Amber Heard or someone like that. I think in during yeah yeah, during the trial, I think a Warner Brother representative said that when the difficulties of Aquaman 2 was trying to cover up the bad chemistry between Amber
Right,
Heard and Jason
right,
Momoa. If you
right.
can't have good chemistry with Jason Momoa, I don't know
I
who you are.
Yeah, Jason Momoa, and from my understanding, him and The Rock and like those kind of those type guys, or even Dave Bautista, like the former WWF kind of type folks, they're very down to earth, that
Yeah,
have a very good work ethic, very professional, from
yeah.
everything I've heard. Anyway, I don't
Mhm.
personally know that
Mhm.
to
Right.
anybody, but
Yeah.
people
No, yeah.
people
We
get known
don't.
by their reputation for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And we don't endorse any actor's personal life, because hell, we don't know anything about them.
We don't care. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
You know, a fair shot. You know, like they do a job like anybody else, and they're absolutely fairly can be criticized. That outside of that, if you get bunched up about anything, yeah, whatever. You know, it's the
Yeah.
world. That's the world we live in.
Yep. Oh, and shout out to Betty Brant, that's in the movie. She's a news reporter, which if you read the comic book, that she was Spider-Man's or Peter Parker's first girlfriend. She in the comic book she worked for the newspaper as J. Jonah Jameson's secretary, but in this she shows up as a news reporter that's reporting outside the high school that uh, Peter Parker goes to school at.
I kind of remember that. Yeah, Betty Brant. Yeah, you know, and the other thing too is, and it's my fault. Um, I I still have yet to see the Spider-Verse. I don't know how much that's tied in with all this or that, but
Not really.
I'm not
Yeah.
up on it. You know, I'm
Yeah.
no clue.
Yeah.
Heard
Yeah.
nothing bad about it, but not
Yeah.
that's not saying. I
Yeah. And
just
I think we'll talk about Miles Morales in our grab bag. So a little
yeah,
plug for
we will.
that. So we might touch on the movie there just a bit. But yeah, as far as Peter Parker's, my favorite and my Peter Parker is Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. He was saddled with probably the two worst well, not worst, but mediocre Spider-Man movies. And I think you say the third Spider-Man movies your worst one, but yeah, I think the second Andrew Garfield one is probably high on other people's radars as worst Spider-Man movie. But
So
I think Andrew Garfield's performance as Peter Parker nails it as far as the comic book
I
version.
and don't get me wrong. Like when I was saying emo Spider-Man, I don't mean to make light of you know Topher Grace per se, or I mean that's not his name.
Toby.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire. Thank you. Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. And Tobey Maguire did a good job. I
He
agree with
was,
you.
but he
Of the
wasn't
movies,
really Peter Parker either. I think, yeah, Andrew Garfield's who's nails it for me.
I agree. Yeah, I really loved his take on things and how he was.
Hmm.
Tom Holland, there's nothing wrong with him.
No,
It's just a
no,
different.
yeah.
You know, they can get away with this because of the multiverse and all this and that. You know, like
Well, Well, and if you don't read the comic book, which a majority of population does not read comic books, they just love the Marvel movies. Tom
Right.
Holland's a great Peter Parker for them. He's
Right.
a very likable guy. No, they're not saddled with the baggage of reading decades of Peter Parker comic books and going, oh well, Peter Parker wouldn't do that. Oh well, I don't think Peter. So and so they don't have the nerd baggage that a comic book fan would have.
Yeah, I
So
agree with
yeah,
that.
so yeah, that they're gonna love it. If I was 13 years old and seeing this movie for the first time, I'd be totally in love with this movie.
Sure.
I would see nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I would argue with you night and day that this is the greatest movie ever. But
Sure. Yeah.
but yeah, us as being old nerds, or,
Right.
back in my day.
Yeah, but there's a significant body of history of work when it comes to Spider-Man in general, and
Mhm.
I would say we've been very lucky as a general audience to have gotten so many good iterations of Peter Parker, even though they might not be bang on that our Peter Parker per se, but
Yep.
I agree with you. Andrew Garfield, I really enjoyed his
Yeah.
take on it. I
Oh.
thought it was the perfect amount
Mhm.
of everything in balance.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh,
having
and
said that, yeah.
and you mentioned the history of Peter Spider-Man through cinema. Are you familiar with the lost media, the idea of lost media? Um,
Mhm.
there's a big in YouTube land. There's a big push for people to find lost media, which is like, say if there was a show on TV that there's no longer any copies of, or the studio no longer has the negatives or whatever, and they're trying to find this particular episode, this particular series, yeah, and whenever someone comes forward with maybe a videotape of it that they taped off a TV, then that's found, lost media that's been found. There is a lost media film of Spider-Man that was it
Really?
was done in the, I believe it was 60s or early 70s. I should have I didn't realize I was going to talk about this, so I don't have a link. There is a video out there. Maybe we'll throw in the links below. I'll give it to Mike after we
Sure.
tape this. But yeah, it was filmed. He got the kind of wink and okay from Stan Lee to make the movie, and
Mhm.
so I don't know if it was ever truly finished. I know that there's an hour footage of it, but they actually filmed it in New York, and it was by this independent filmmaker. I think that just got out of college, film college, but he made the movie, and um, I think either Stanley um, didn't really give him permission to the copyright permission to do the movie, or after it was made, he took it away. So it was never actually released to uh, to the public. And there's the only thing that remains of it is stills. The guy that made the movie actually um, did actually show it at some comic book conventions and various conventions over the years. But I think at one point towards the end of his life, the only copy he had was the copy on his computer, and I
Oh
think his
wow.
his computer died, and then subsequently the person died. So I don't think there's an actual copy of this movie to exist at this point. So the very few people that actually got to see it are the only ones that obviously have seen it. But yeah, there's like there was a YouTube video done by this one guy that I watched that he covers some lost media stuff, and that was one of the items on that. So, but yeah, I'll go ahead and get that link. So if anyone that's kind of interested in that can watch that as well.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah,
Mhm.
they Spider-Man is great. And I think I was satisfied enough. Like I said, I wasn't fully satisfied with this kind of backing out here, and we'll be making a turn over to the other side in a second. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I am. I am. I will say this: even if the Disney Marvel, whatever, if I don't like it, which has yet to occur, to be honest with you, like where it's a really stinker, it sucks. I'm fairly impressed of the amount that they can pack into these movies. They do suffer a little bit, like where it gets kind of thin here and there, but for the most part, like you said, if you're coming in and this is the first Spider-Man that you've seen, and this is your Spider-Man, this is your, Tom Holland Spider-Man, Disney Marvel, you're gonna you have a basis of you have a very good foundation. So at least you have that. Growing up,
Yeah.
we had no movies, no Spider-Man movies, not until
Yeah.
I think late '90s or early '00s. Really, I think it was '00s, but
There was a that you had the classic Hulk TV show with Lou Ferrigno and
true.
Bruce Banner, but there was a short-lived Spider-Man TV show in the 70s as well. But it was live action, and the there was no big villains in it. It was all just street level crime, and Spider-Man Peter Parker rarely got into the Spider-Man costume. So I wanted to love it as a kid watching it, but it was it wasn't very good.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be kind of buried somewhere, but I don't think it's on Disney Plus at all.
No. I was just looking.
You're
I
just
wasn't
looking.
looking that
Yeah.
up. I was looking up the movies. I
Oh.
forgot to preload the movies. But yeah, and this is
Oh
not
yeah.
something.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I wish, I don't know if I haven't looked recently, but I absolutely love, there was a cartoon from either the 60s or 70s of Spider-Man that I really loved, because it was very faithful. At least the first season was very faithful to the comic book, but then I think the second or third season they lost money, or did, yeah, 1967. Yeah, I would love to watch those again, but I think the second or third season they didn't have as much money for the for the show, and they started reusing animation, and it got to be very very cheap. But that first season was great. But yeah, and I don't want to pay $400 for the DVD of it. So
And this is live, so like we just pulled this up. And, oh wow! I mean, I could maybe see like after like probably I had. This would probably be like 300 on my list of if I had $400 to just blow. This might be like number 200 on that list. Because I can think of what $400 can go a lot. But
Yeah,
God
absolutely.
bless them, like whatever. And you know what? This is that price is going to go up, and it's probably only going to go up now that I say that. But so if you're in, I agree. I don't know where I saw this. I've seen this series too, off and on, like not consistently at all. But I can't remember where I've seen it. But they have replayed it over the years, and of course that's where the famous meme comes from, I believe.
Yep.
Like
Yep,
where they're like all pointing at each other, like a lot of
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah, I haven't seen it since I think in my early 20s. I think some local or cable channel was rerunning them in the morning. I would watch that before I was getting ready for work or something. Yeah.
yeah. So this is a fun ride, kind of backing out and going into Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They just have a lot as they build this thing up more. There's just going to be some things missed, but I would say the Marvel thing, like this was the one that's pretty much untouchable as far as like the culture wars go. I haven't heard a peep about true complaining about this and that. What not too much anyway, but
right.
And I think that's because they did a good job, and it's pretty much like. Is there some valid criticism? Yeah, but does it really have any hard, sharp edges? Not really, But aside from that, this kind of sets us up for Doctor Strange. And speaking to him, Benedict Cumberbatch is a great actor, and comes through just like some of the kind of silly things, shenanigans. Spider-Man, I don't think that would happen, but aside from that kind of teases us up for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse.
Mhm.
I have a little bit more mixed feelings for this one than I do. I'm not going to say it sucks. I didn't. But there were some harder, like, just as my criticism for, there really are no true hard edges for criticism for Spider-Man. We're kind of getting into that a little bit more here because I can find a couple. I can find a couple
Mhm.
hard, like, that were just kind of put in, and they didn't smooth them over, and they stick out.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I love this one. So come at me, bro.
Yeah.
No, Sam Raimi directed this and also helped write it, and
He did.
and then yeah, Michael Waldron is credited as the writer, so he wrote it with Sam Raimi, and he catered it to Sam Raimi. So this is very much a Sam Raimi Marvel movie. I was kind of worried that Sam Raimi directing it, Marvel would kind of rein him in and keep him from doing the things that he does best. But no, they let him run wild with this, and it's the closest thing to a horror movie that Marvel Marvel
They're ever
Disney's
gonna get.
gotten to. And like you were saying, the Benedict Cumberbatch, he is my Doctor Strange. He does
Yeah.
a great job. He really embodies the character of Doctor Strange in the movies and also the comic book. He's definitely and Doctor Strange has always been one of my favorite comic book characters. But it was hard reading back in the day because he didn't have whenever I was collecting, a lot of times he didn't have an ongoing series. He was never like a huge character in the Marvel universe, so he would end up like as a supporting character in the Avengers or
Right.
another comic book. But yeah, I found when I was young, I found they did like a little small paperback books, versions of like the first several issues of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and I got those when I was a kid. So I read the original Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, Doctor Strange, and really loved those stories that I read from that. But yeah, so he's been a character that's been on my mind ever since I was little. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, I do. When this came out in the theaters 2 or 3 months ago, whenever it was, I
mhm,
was curious about one of the characters that they allude to is America Chavez, um,
mhm,
and I was like, I'd never really had exposure to that, so I kind of went back in the archives and I like read up on them. And I mentioned a couple, like, in quite a few grab bag recommends a while ago. And the comic book storylines weren't like amazing. They weren't like golden age tier kind of things,
mhm,
but they were
yeah,
passable. They were fine. I didn't have any
uh,
issues with them, and I think those are even like from the '90s or something, like, or even
right.
Actually, they're from. It might even been there when Disney took over Marvel for sure. But in any case, I agree with you for the most part. Some of the things that I don't know. Like, I don't know what my direct criticism is, to be honest. But I agree with you for sure that this is the de facto Doctor Strange, and
Mm,
maybe some of my criticism isn't fair because, just like I said, that they pack a lot in here. Well, to be honest with you, if you're gonna do Doctor Strange on the big screen, you're gonna see some weird shit. You're gonna see
mhm,
you're gonna see the world tip over quite a few times, just to kind of fit everything in, because it's not just just one world. It's, how in the world do you do, like at the end of the first Doctor Strange, where he had the time, or I think it was the time stone, and they just
mhm,
kept going, like, look, dude, we can keep going at this a million times. Like,
mhm,
I'm still gonna be here, or whatever. I can't
mhm,
remember the main
mhm,
villain's name,
mhm.
but
Yeah,
um,
Mordo, yeah.
yeah, what was it?
Mordo.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was
Or
maybe I'm
oh
thinking of.
no, not Mordo, the Mickelson character, right? Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. But in
Yeah.
any case,
Mhm.
yeah, this works. It's definitely teeing up for like more,
Yeah.
further on. And yeah,
Yeah, and
I,
I liked it because, well, and I was, it kind of gives validation to the WandaVision series, because after watching that, I wondered if this really meant anything to the Marvel universe, which basically it served to set up the Scarlet Witch as the villain in this movie,
Right.
which and I was kind of worried that in this movie they would try to do like a recap of the TV show so that people wouldn't be lost that didn't watch the show, but they fairly just kind of just did it as part of the conversation dialogue between Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch. They didn't do like a big flashback or anything, which I appreciated. And yeah, the basically the story of it is, the Wanda is chasing America Chavez, who Chavez has the power of the multiverse. And like you, I have read zero comic books featuring America Chavez. Doesn't really interest me as a character. Not that she's bad or not, just I'm not interested.
Right.
And and in this movie, we don't really get to know her that much. She's more of a MacGuffin for the plot than anything else. Now she may be, they may try to develop her as more of a character in future movies or a TV series or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, she's not egregious. She's not a horrible character, but she's not really doesn't really stand out either.
Right. Again, I think when you try to fit so much into this, some parts get a little bit thinner than others.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with, like, I was interested in, and maybe that's my fault for not having watched or seen the WandaVision series.
Mhm.
I just, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's something like that. I every time I try to go into like one of these, and it's not just WandaVision, it's
Mhm.
other ones too. It's just, I can muster up about 15 minutes, and then I just get bored, or I wonder on my phone or something like, and it's not, I don't know. I can try harder for sure, but and maybe that would be a valid thing to like go back
Mhm.
and watch, because I would say I was surprised that they took a main character and they flipped her over into villain very
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
And she fits. Well, of course, that's not hard, because Scarlet Witch originally is a villain in everything.
Mhm.
Like, I think she has an anti-hero. Maybe I'm misspeaking, but I feel like she's always been the X-Men's, or maybe I'm thinking of a different. I thought that she was always like a villain, generally speaking. But they
Not necessarily. Yeah, she kind of, well, she's in the comic book, she's Magneto's daughter, and
okay.
yeah, she at times would be with him and the Brotherhood of Evil. I think it was his
Brotherhood
group,
of Mutants.
but yeah, Evil Mutants. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so but then she at one point joined the Avengers, and that's where she met Vision, and yeah, and then later on she gets crazy because of her kids, and, and wipes out half of or most of the mutants on 616. And
And that's the House of M. Is that
yeah.
the House of M? Okay,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Like that one I am familiar with for the most part. Like, it's
Mhm.
been a very long time since I read that one, but
Yeah,
um,
so she kind of, so her, like her father Magneto, she goes from being a hero to villain quite often.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
valid. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I really liked um I really liked how they did this one. Like, they even had they gave you a little teaser for, it means nothing in the grand scheme of Disney Marvel, but they did kind of do a throwaway multiverse, or throwaway universe with Richard Reed, Black
Mhm.
Bolt. You have
Right.
like
Mhm.
the Illuminati. What was that, their group for that particular, or was that?
Yeah,
Am I
it
missing?
was, yeah, it's the Illuminati. I wasn't familiar with that, but evidently that was a run on of New Avengers that Brian Michael Bendis did. Evidently, I kind of looked the Wikipedia on that, and basically it was like a mid 2000s storyline where it kind of retconned some of it. This secret society of superheroes were formed right after the Kree Scroll War.
Mhm.
It was the sort of secret society. that wasn't known, and they kind of retconned some of the stuff. So yeah, I wasn't familiar with that,
Now,
but yeah, it's a deal with a real deal with Marvel.
now, did that storyline have the life model decoys, or was that the storyline that they redid later on?
Yeah, I didn't read it, so I'm not
That's fine. That's
sure.
fine. That's fine.
But
Not a
yeah,
big deal.
I kind of liked, yeah, I liked the Illuminati they had here. Like the guy that they had played Black Bolt is the one from that failed TV pilot that they had for that where are they called? I forget. Oh well.
Oh,
Uh,
Inhumans.
Inhumans, yeah, the
Yep.
Inhumans, which I think would be a great movie or series if done
Oh,
right. And that
yeah.
Black Bolt character is very interesting. And then of course you had Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. I like that he was in the wheelchair from the cartoon, and you had of course Captain Carter and from the What Ifs, and
Right.
I liked the a while back John Krasinski was the fan favorite for Reed Richards, and they drew him in like some what they would think that he would look like as Reed Richards, and that's exactly how he looks in this. So I'm sure that's a absolute nod to the fans, and I could see him as I would really look forward to a Fantastic Four movie with him in it.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to a competent Fantastic Four.
Oh,
And I have
absolutely.
no doubt, like if Disney has any say or any sway, I would hope that of course I think there's some licensing with Sony and some other crap that we're not prepared to go into, but regardless of that, I was really excited to see him as Reed Richards. It fits, it makes sense.
Yep.
He's kind of like Zendaya, right? So like there's there's no wrong that he can do, essentially. But aside from that, holy shit. Well, you're introduced to all these kind of all like, oh wow, like this is what this one looks like for the Inhumans. You're introduced to like these kind of things, and then all of a sudden, like Wanda's just like, nope.
she slaughters them, yeah, and
Like
that's
it's not even a con, and this is kind of like a running trope, I think, in the comic books. Black Bolt is like very overbuild with his powers, like where if he lets loose, it's just over. But
yeah.
in reality, like I say it's a trope, but he gets stomped like very easily. In the comic book, there's a trail of dead, squished Black Bolts throughout the multiverse. Regardless of this, I mean, I'm sure there are other storylines where he shines a little bit brighter, and it's not so. But of course, it's a plot device. Essentially,
Yeah.
like she rolls in and it's over. It's done.
Yeah, and the run of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee on Fantastic Four, their Inhuman stories are really really entertaining, and gets a little political. I think the Inhumans live on the moon. They used to live on Earth, but things started getting too polluted, so they had
Like
to
Avalon or
move.
something.
Yeah, they had to move their place to the dark side of the moon where
Right.
the Watcher lives. But yeah, yeah, because things got a little too polluted on the Earth. They started dying off because actually that's not a Stan Lee storyline. That's a John Byrne story and his run of Fantastic Four. I'm getting my stories all crisscrossed. But yeah, so I love the action in this movie. Very very horror based and very original. Sam Raimi's known for his inventive camera work, whether it's digital or physical, and he doesn't let us down on this. And we were talking about action movies last week. This is the type of action that intrigues me. It kind of surprises me, whereas the previous movie Spider-Man, the guy's a good director, very competent, but he does very pedestrian transitions and shots, close-ups, wide for the action. It covers what needs to be covered, but there's no creative kind of inventiveness to it, whereas Sam Raimi keeps me engaged with the intriguing he likes to do the camera where it follows, does like fast follows of the character, and does crazy zoom ins and whatnot, and he does do that quite often here.
Yeah, I think that that one that I mentioned, like where Wanda just rolls in and just wipes the floor with him like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just the Sam Raimi, nobody else could have done that but him.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the just how he did that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. Like, I don't think that if it would have been anybody else, this would have not worked at all. And thank God they did let him be himself and have that vision
Mm-hmm.
to paint the
Yep.
picture as he wanted to, because they hit all spots.
Yeah.
They covered quite a bit of material for Doctor Strange, which was I was impressed with. I will give them that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably one that will grow on me over time. The Spider-Man one is like kind of like I know exactly how I feel like when I see it. It's fine, but there's nothing wrong with it. But I
Oh,
wasn't
and
really satisfied with. But
and
this is one that will probably end up growing on me,
yeah,
like on a second or
yeah,
third or fourth watch through,
right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think the original director and I think writer for the original was going to do the sequel, and I think he had to leave because of creative differences, and I don't know. There's speculation that he wanted to take it full horror, where Marvel didn't want to go in that direction. But this is pretty pretty horrific in and of itself. So I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, so he got dropped, and Sam Raimi with hesitation took it on because he wasn't sure if he wanted to do another superhero movie, but he was kind of intrigued by how they make a big major motion picture like this in current
Right.
day. And so he took it on, and him and the writer were a bit hesitant because the movie was had a hard release date, and they had 3 weeks to write this. So being rushed is but the thing is, the I guess the one good thing about the pandemic is that it put a halt on the production, so they were able to spend as much time as they needed on the story to flesh it out. So who knows what kind of crap we would have gotten if they only had the 3 weeks to do it. But yeah, they were able to spend as much time and kind of develop it, and they were able to. I think this movie was actually at one point was going to come out before Spider-Man, so they were going to have to set up the multiverse within the Strange movie. So they kind of had to rework the plot a little bit, since it followed both Spider-Man and WandaVision. And I think Doctor Strange was initially going to be in WandaVision as well, but they at the last minute they decided to take Doctor Strange out of it because, from what I heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but they didn't want Doctor Strange to come in and mansplain to Wanda what's going on at the end of
Yeah.
WandaVision.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's best to avoid that crap. It's best to judge what we see in front of our faces. Like for the most part, we
Mhm.
can get lost in whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and
oh,
two other cameos that I absolutely loved
oh yeah. Go ahead.
was Rintra, which is the Minotaur. You only see him a couple of times during the big battle with Wanda at the temple, but he's the green Minotaur that is running around there, and
Oh.
he's from the comic book. He's a
Huh.
yeah, on Roy Thomas's 90s run on Doctor Strange. He does he's one of Doctor Strange companions that runs around with him, and he's hilarious in the comic book. So I would love to see more of him in maybe future Doctor Strange movies if they allow it. And then at the very end, the big teaser is Clea from
Oh yeah.
the dark
The
dimension. Doctor Strange is wife in the comic book. So maybe they're
Right.
setting up a. So I guess they had to deal with his failed relationship with the with what's her name to lead into his meeting of Clea, where he's free and clear to hook up with her.
Right. Yeah. For the most part, like they played everything down the line pretty good with Doctor Strange. I just need to get a little bit more knowledge on these on Wanda, and then rewatch this, and then I'll probably have a little bit more background. But good shout outs for the other ones. But
Oh,
go ahead.
go ahead. Oh, I was going to say my nerd issue that I brought up at the beginning of this episode was that at one point the Doctor Strange and America Chavez are captured and are learning about the multiverses and which one they're in and which one they're from. The doctor talking to Doctor Strange says he's from the 616 Marvel universe, which is the universe that the comic books take place in.
Right.
And I have a major issue because that is not 616. The filmed Marvel Cinematic Universe is not 616. It's a whole different universe because you've got way different, storylines going on.
I think I think it could be argued that they pull from the ultimate or one of the ultimate universes, like Ultimate Iron Man or Ultimate whatever. I think it slides in. That's really old speculation that I remember some nerd YouTube channel was talking about that issue a long time ago, and I think that but it's not clearly down the line because they beg, borrow, and steal from other storylines to like what they are. But I agree with you.
I think
it's not 616
right.
at all for sure. You're right about
and maybe they did land upon 616 when Doctor Strange and America Chavez was tumbling through the various multiverses. There's a brief moment where they're animated, so that looks kind of comic booky. So you could maybe claim that one's possibly 616. But yeah, this isn't 616. And I like how they're pulling minor lore out of the comic books, like the Darkhold book is very much a thing in the Doctor Strange comic book, and they actually did a mini series just recently, I think last year, called Darkhold, that kind of dealt with Darkhold stuff. But I didn't read it, so I don't have much of an opinion as far as that mini series that took place last year in Marvel Comics. But yeah, it's very much a thing in the Marvel Comics.
Indeed. Yeah, no,
And
I'm looking forward to how they're going to interweave some of this. If you are up on the storylines, you can kind of see like, oh, I remember like that one from that storyline or whatnot. But those are few and far between for me. But and I think that's what the second one was, far away from home or something. I don't know.
Yeah, far from home.
Far from home. That's what it was. Yeah. No, this is a good.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be a Sam Raimi movie without a brief cameo by Bruce Campbell, which is his longtime partner as far as films and TV. But yeah, he's Pizza Papa in this one. He gets on America Chavez's world. He ends up punching himself repeatedly because of Doctor Strange.
Indeed. Yeah, this is good. It'll be interesting. Like I said, they did a lot, and like that's Kang. I don't know the lore. I know that. God, this is like, no, that's not Kang. Never mind.
No, that's Mordo. Yeah.
Yeah,
that is Mordo. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They thought about putting Kang in this one, but they thought that would just much like your much vilified Spider-Man 3, they thought that would be a little too top heavy with villains and would take away from Scarlet Witch's her villain role in this movie. So they held off on Kang. And the show that introduced the multiverse wasn't was for the Marvel Cinematic Universe was Loki. Loki kind of introduced the multiverse aspect to the universe.
Absolutely, you're right about that. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I really need to get I really need to roll back through Loki, because that one is the linchpin for a lot of these, more so than other ones. Like, I'm not saying the other ones aren't as important, but Loki really has a big. You want to know where they're going. Eventually, you'll get there, and I think Thor. It's rumored that Thor, the next Thor one. I might be on the wrong track with this one, but God, there's so many storylines to keep up with. Oh my God, Gore the God Butcher. I want to say, but I could be wrong on that. So disregard that. But I'll be looking forward to that if they do ever introduce that one. But just one of a million ones that oh man, I hope they do this. Well, we're in the era where at some point they're going to introduce like your favorite minor, super minor character or major minor league character, kind of, so to speak, at some point.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Namor, they thought about having him in the Illuminati, but then they held off. I think they cast someone to be Namor in a future movie. There was a big hullabaloo in the internet world because he's Hispanic. I don't know that makes a different since he's supposed to be from Atlantis, where is Atlantis situated? People are making jokes that it's in the Gulf of Mexico or something.
I see.
But which I don't care.
Right. Yeah. Just give us a good storyline and we're good.
Yeah. And but as long as he's a good actor, I don't have issue. Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. Just let the story tell it, and not the message.
Right.
And to be clear, I don't think that either one of these were anything along those lines, like that kind of thing. But I was gonna say like a more minor part. I was really impressed. The more that I see Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, she does a really great job, for sure, no matter what, regardless of anything else. But
right.
I'm sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something.
That I was looking. I think it was Afghanistan that Doctor Strange wasn't released in because the fact that America Chavez's character is a lesbian and has lesbian parents. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. But yeah,
well, Afghanistan. What are you going to say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're
exactly.
There's not much of Afghanistan to talk about anyway.
So. It was Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry. Saudi Arabia.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking.
I
But
guess I'll miss out.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But yeah, let's see. Let's try and think of. Like Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi has people that he always brings along with him with his movies, and so the score was done by Danny Elfman, who done most of Sam Raimi's movies. Which unfortunately, Danny Elfman, after a while there, he did like the original Batman soundtrack with or a score with the one with Michael Keaton. He's done most of Tim Burton's movie as well. He does tend to get his music after a while does tend to get samey, start sounding the same for various movies. But in this one, I was kind of impressed that it was different for him. It did you when listening to it, you didn't immediately think Danny Elfman. So, but it also didn't really stand out as far as it being a great score or anything. But yeah, at least it didn't sound like, say, Edward Scissorhands or something like that.
Right, yeah. That very off key, very
Yeah.
fine for that movie, but not fine
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
a little bit more contiguous normie
Mhm.
movie, so to speak, I guess.
Mhm.
And that's one thing these comic book shows and movies are definitely, fodder for the normies. And
Mhm.
I'm a filthy casual, so I'm not even going to claim to have any kind of pedigree over this comic book or that comic book because I have no idea.
You're
Um,
right.
but regardless, yeah, this was a good fun ride. Like I think I enjoyed Spider-Man a little bit more, per se.
Mhm. Yep.
But like I said, I already called out like my issues, like I
Mhm.
need to go back and I need to rewatch,
Mhm. Yeah.
or at least try to find a synopsis
Mhm.
video that kind of
Yeah.
collapses everything down so I can
Mhm.
understand what's going on.
Yep.
But for the
And
most part, I kept up. I kept up.
mhm. Yeah, and I'm the reverse. I like a Doctor Strange movie better than the Spider-Man one, which kind of leads us to our differences. It's we both enjoy most of the same things, but yeah, our tastes kind of skew a little bit towards different aspects, and that's what makes the world great.
Indeed, yeah. I,
There's
I
different.
would say that this is definitely a love letter to Sam Raimi. To let
Mhm.
him do what he wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were very smart to step
Mhm.
away and just
Mhm.
let the man be the man. There's
Yeah,
a reason why
yeah.
he's so good at what he does.
Yeah, you got your undead Doctor Strange towards the end there,
He
which
did.
is
I love that. I love that. I
yeah.
love of all the small screen Marvel, Disney Marvel ones out there. I loved What If, and I think
Mhm,
we kind of dipped our toe into it a little bit. I think we covered it a little bit
mhm,
in the last 6 months or so. Like it's going to be
mhm,
6 or 7 months that we've been together doing this thing. But
mhm,
um, having said that, though, it still holds up. You know,
mhm,
um, but I'm like more of like I love that What If. I love those throwaway
mhm,
storylines that are just like, and
mhm,
and that really cracks open the multiverse too for what it is. And I do
mhm.
remember the Marvel I read from start to finish. This was actually I read this when back when we worked together. I remember reading the zombie storyline for Marvel.
Oh, yeah. Mhm,
And it was like it was a mini series,
mhm,
but it didn't go like super long. But I remember
mhm,
reading it, and it was good
mhm.
for what it
Yeah,
was. I mean,
yeah. It was done by Robert Kirkman, the
oh, that's right.
Walking Dead guy. Yeah.
Yep. No, they did a good job. I mean, pretty
Mhm,
much it consumed. I can't remember. It's a long time ago, but anyway,
mhm,
yeah. I loved how much they kind of like. Again, this is kind of shameless fan service, and when they do it right, people love it. Right? So like,
mhm,
it's not like rammed in there, and it's like just odd when the
mhm,
character shows up or whatever. But for the most part, it
mhm.
all works. So
Yep.
yeah, despite that, like if you pick any one of these, you're not going to be disappointed. If
Mhm,
you're even grandma, could walk in. She might not know what's going on, but even she would
mhm,
have an enjoyable time. Like with either one of these movies. Probably
mhm,
Spider-Man is a little bit more normie than the Doctor Strange one,
mhm,
but
mhm. Yeah.
I was surprised. I think that they definitely hit the mark with Doctor Strange too. I'm glad they took their time. I'm glad they waited. You're right about that.
Mhm.
If they would have rushed this any way, shape, or form, we would have got I don't think we would have got as good of a product for sure.
No,
So they were
no,
smart.
yeah, it wouldn't have the same stamp of Sam Raimi on it as they would probably end up having to use most of the previous script, and which who knows what that one was like.
God knows, yeah. God, who knows? But yeah,
Mhm.
for real, for real. All right. Well, I think we're coming up
Mhm.
on the end of the
Yep.
train for
Mhm.
everything. Like these are all both pretty strong recommends, I think, from both
Mhm.
myself and Thomas. More so
Mhm.
Spider-Man on my side, and
Mhm.
Doctor Strange more so on your side.
Mhm.
As a
Yep.
thumbs up, go see it.
Yep. Yep. And
So,
to quote the late great Stanley Excelsior.
indeed, indeed, indeed. All right, my friend. Well, thank you for another week. In the last.
Hey, guess what? Let's do it again next week.
There. For
And
sure.
you and the proverbial audience be there with us as well, and like, comment, and subscribe.
Please. And it's Morbid time.
Morbid. Yeah.
See you later.
See ya.